were under the impression that you could hear us saying, please give us a few minutes longer to let everybody sign on. I'm not sure that happened, and my apologies if that wasn't the case. We were just waiting for some last few people to get signed on with us. And Dawn, if you go ahead and start the recording, this webinar will be available on our website into the future for you to send people to take a look, and et cetera. That's going to be at DataSourceability.com. And I had just a little bit of a brief snafu with my phone system there, Dawn. I want to make sure you and I are hearing one another. Is that correct?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
All right. Well, so now I'll introduce that voice. Dawn Fee is our Director of Marketing and the one that pulls all the strings and helps to make sure that I actually can be heard. And also, more important that we hear, Mr. Earl Rugg, who's the CEO of Rural Health IT and our guest speaker here today. And Earl, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so let me go over a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to get started into the meat of our presentation. One thing is we will have questions that you can enter at any time. There's a little screen that's available to you, a little chat bar from GoToWebinar that has the ability for you to enter in questions. So as you enter in questions there at any point during the session today, you can enter in those questions, and we will we'll get to those at the end of the session during our Q&A. So feel free to just type those in. We'll make sure to get them. Also, if you're having any difficulty, you need to get in touch with us. There's a little chat thing where you can send a message to the organizers and the panelists, et cetera. So feel free to use that. I believe there's even a little dashboard or something where you can do some other things. I'm not really sure how all that works. To make it easier to see, if you maximize the screen, it will be a little bit easier. Dawn, just one thing for you, if you don't mind. I'm seeing your toolbar down at the bottom that has, you know, PowerPoint, et cetera. Maybe you can make it to where that disappears. Yeah, I'm not sure how that, but yeah, I think if you just click, there you go, perfect. I think that'll make it a little easier for everybody. Okay, I think that's it. So you'll be able to see this at datasourceability.com/EMR now. Is where we'll be archiving this. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to have a very brief overview of our company, just a 30-second commercial, so to speak, on who we are as the people that are bringing you this information today. And then we're going to talk about a distinction between electronic medical records and electronic health records. This is just a fun little tidbit of information to offer up to you. And then we're going to get into the real meat of this, which is the grant funding and funds that are available. Earl and his team at Rural Health IT, what they do is they get grants for healthcare organizations. And in particular, these accountable care organizations, which Earl is going to describe, are a big part of this that the government's trying to accomplish. I think there's some good stuff in there. We'll talk about some strategies and then get into the Q&A. So let's get into the quick commercial. I promise this won't take long. We have a dedicated healthcare practice. It is what we do. We focus on complete solutions for healthcare, not just pieces of computers. For instance, we're a specialist in Panasonic and their tough books and different types of computing products, but also plasma displays and projectors and carts and 802.11 technology. We've got some phenomenal solutions for 802.11, et cetera. But we really try to focus on being a partner to you, our customer, and providing you solutions like Rural Health IT. You can provide granting to get your project going and get it paid for. So these partnerships are very important to us. Now, how we go about our partnerships are equally important. We have a formal vetting process for our principles of partnership that looks at the quality of the product, the quality of the service, and the value that presents through total cost of ownership and return on investment, and the environmental impact of this solution. So we want to make sure that you know that our goal is to provide best-in-class solutions every time we come to you. These are just an example of some of our partners. I'd be happy to talk with you about any of these or other folks that we deal with. And we also have a 1% rebate program that we'd love to tell you about, our Trusted Partner Program, just a way of saying thank you for trusting us to be your technology partner. All right. Thank you, Dawn. So what is EMR and EHR? These terms are frequently used interchangeably, and we certainly understand why that is, and we certainly also understand why there's some confusion here. This is just to give a little bit of a distinction to make it easier. So the electronic medical record is what a hospital would deploy, or a clinic, or any type of healthcare organization. It's what they would deploy for them to use to keep track of all of the records of what happens to any patient that comes through their door. So this electronic medical record is essentially a legal record of what happens to the patient and what they're doing. It is something that is owned by that healthcare organization itself. It's not something that's owned by the patient. That electronic medical record is usually offered by companies like McKesson and Mysis and you know all the names, right? Eclipsis, etc. They're offering some sort of a software product that manages all of that data. That electronic medical record in turn connects to an electronic health record, which is a larger group of stakeholders that might be shared across hospitals within a local area, doctors' clinics, ambulatory clinics, etc., where healthcare information needs to flow about a given patient, not necessarily a legal record of what happened to that patient at a particular hospital, but rather the medical records of that person that are pertinent to be shared. This is where the portability and interconnectedness of healthcare is trying to get to, this sharing of electronic health records and giving this information flow to make more meaningful decisions. And I think one of the real goals behind the grants that are available is to allow electronic health records to be propagated throughout regions, throughout states, throughout the country, so that we have better communications, better tracking of information, so that an individual gets better care, and so that populations receive better, or so that we have better information about population health issues, flu, and other type of spreading diseases, etc. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and we'll move on. That was just a little bonus information to start the day. So what is the benefit of an electronic medical record? I think we're all seeing a lot of the reasons for doing it. There's some Medicaid and Medicare carrots that are being dangled out in front of people if they achieve meaningful use within a certain time. And then there's also some sticks that are being used to threaten people if they don't get it done within a certain period of time. But there's a lot of benefits otherwise. Access by all the staff that have the permissions to the information that's needed to make meaningful decisions about what's going on for a patient. The organization and legibility of charts should improve in such a significant way, The communications within the teams and the medication records keeping and safety, there really is no comparison between the two. Documentation, really the decreasing of duplications and unnecessary care are a tremendous piece that comes out of this. And this documentation is, again, accessible by all staff that have the appropriate permissions. So not only do you get a better quality of documentation, but you also get a better quality of access. So the other piece here about allowing patients to participate better, by having an electronic medical record that provides information to the staff, you also have information that can be provided to patients. And what we're seeing, and we'll have actually a webinar on this next week, is the ability to take some of this information and push this out to things like television screens that are inside the patient's rooms to provide not only entertainment but also information, infotainment as they call it. And then, of course, as we mentioned on the last piece of this, that we want to allow this information to go from the electronic medical record to the electronic health record as a whole. And this is where the larger initiatives that are being driven through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act and the HITECH Act as part of that, and other types of initiatives that Earl's going to speak to. That's what we're really trying to get us to. So let's get into the real meat and potatoes now of the session. And as we said earlier, please feel free to enter in any questions that you have on the toolbar that's provided by GoToWebinar. We will get those at the end. Any that aren't answered, we promise we will get an email to you, make sure we get taken care of, and just remember this is also going to be recorded, so you'll have it available in the future. Earl, thank you again, and we'll turn it over to your very capable hands.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it. You can hear me okay, hopefully. I can see that it's so indicated on the screen. Rural Health IT Corporation has been in business over 8 years. Our focus is entirely on assisting hospitals, clinics, FQHCs, health information exchanges, and physicians, IPAs, et cetera, in obtaining their electronic medical records and their health technology. 100% of our efforts are not only in obtaining the funding, but also in assisting with the development process. But all of this, initiates from, a good strategic plan, and we then utilize that strategic plan of each organization to then build the funding aspects of it. All the funding that we were involved with over the years has been only federal grants. Organizations like the Health Resources Services Administration, otherwise known as HRSA, direct division of the NIH, of the Health and Human Services, the AHRQ, or the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, which is a division of the NIH, which is a division of Health and Human Services. USDA, Department of Agriculture, they have a number of grants that are available. Office for Rural Health Policy, also a number of health technology grants that come out periodically through the years. I'm going to talk about 3 potential grants in a few minutes that are currently available. We got our start over 8 years ago because we had this crazy idea that we could create an electronic medical record at a critical access hospital up in Vermont by integrating the 5 disparate systems that they had. And we applied for an AHRQ grant, Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality grant, and won that grant, and then were able to find a vendor that was able to integrate all of the disparate systems within the hospital, and with a 3-year grant, but for over $1 million. But we were very successful in that project, and that's what got us going. The essential part of developing these grants and is built around the analysis and development of an evaluation plan. And evaluation plans are probably the most critical aspect of a grant application. Not only does it allow you to be able to capture and report information and metrics and changes in, and hopefully improvements in the quality and efficiency of your healthcare delivery, but more recently it actually is very useful in developing meaningful use in all the requirements around meaningful use. Ultimately, this is what is the return on investment for the grant agency, that you've had a successful project, that you've created efficiencies and created improvements, and particularly in the quality of delivery of healthcare. And that's the desire and the design of you know, a electronic medical record, electronic health record, or a health information exchange. The HIE there is health information exchange. And so currently we've begun and finished projects in Vermont with AHRQ, in North Dakota with HRSA, Health Resources Services Administration, in North Carolina, again with HRSA, up in Washington State with AHRQ. We were heavily involved last year with writing some of the Beacon grants, the $15 to $20 million grants. We were involved with those. Those grants came out of ONC, or otherwise known as the Office of National Coordinator, which, you know, was enabled by the high-tech legislation that came out a couple of years ago.
And Earl, I think one of the great things that, Don, if you don't mind going back to that last slide, you know, Earl is I'm amazed at what a humble man he is. But I just want to plug for them some of the things that they do that are so significant. This notion of the ROI to the grant agency, this is what they understand better than anybody that we've dealt with in the past, including some of the folks that, you know, work in writing grants within the large healthcare organizations we've worked with. They understand what these grant agencies are trying to accomplish, and they understand how to drive a return on investment back to that grant agency. So, you know, when these people are offering out $1 million in grants, they're expecting to see a return on investment for the taxpayer money in reduction in healthcare costs and improvements in the quality of care, right? So this is where this health information exchange notion comes in, this tying in all these different EMR solutions. And what Rural Health IT is able to do is, by their evaluation, their analytics, and their capturing of reporting information, and knowing what those ROI metrics are, they're really able to speak the language that these grant agencies want to hear, so that we get better results in the grants that are available to them. And, you know, they're so good at it, they offer essentially not only do they have a 100% success rate, but they have a 100% guarantee. If this doesn't wind up being successful for you when the grant is submitted, they will continue to submit that grant at no charge until it's successful. And they've just done a phenomenal job of this. So, again, I know you don't want to toot your own horn there, Earl, but I'm just so impressed with the quality of the products you guys are delivering. I wanted to say that.
I appreciate that, Bill, very much. Yes, we've been involved with over 30 projects nationwide, all health technology projects all over the country, organizations of all different sizes. We're known as Rural Health IT. We got our start with rural health, and our hearts are near and dear to rural health, but we also now work with a number of large city hospitals, medical centers, teaching hospitals, et cetera. So, and as Bill said, you know, the return on investment, which comes about as a result of the evaluation plan, and we have a very unique proprietary evaluation plan that is totally, you know, totally acceptable, and not only beyond acceptable though, but it recognized by the grant agencies as being a very effective means of being able to capture and report that information and give them the return on investment that they're looking for. And as a result of that, it's, you know, because we've had so many successful projects, it's not just winning the grant application, it's creating and developing successful projects. Obviously, we've got some great relationships with the folks at AHRQ and USDA and HRSA and whatnot. And actually, I sit on the national board, Health Information Technology Board. So I'm good. So again, the importance of being able to identify what's in a qualified EHR, electronic health record, EHR or EMR, whatever it is that you're going to be purchasing has to be certified, and it's certification processes now are CCHIT is one certification organization, and the other obviously is ONC, Office of National Coordinator. And the aspect of being able to qualify for meaningful use you have to have certain components to the electronic medical record, health record, which also includes demographic and clinical health information, history, problem list, clinical decision support. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I talk about some specific grants. Physician order entry, capture and reporting of quality of care information, and the ability to exchange that interoperability between and among systems is extremely important. As Bill has indicated and I had indicated, that these systems must in order to qualify for the payments from either Medicare or Medicaid, you must be able to develop and ultimately report on so-called meaningful use information. And that meaningful information, again, must come from a qualified EMR product. It must be connectivity to all of your providers, and then ultimately that is necessary to report that technology, the use of that technology, and the criteria, 15 criteria that exist right now for meaningful use, that will be expanding, and expectedly moving forward. One of the things that's going to be really, really neat, it's not required with an EMR or EHR right now, but ultimately it would be, and I'm going to talk about that again in a few minutes, to talk about business intelligence, the ability to capture and report the meaningful use information seamlessly and transparently, easily for the physicians, for the providers. Eventually, every EMR system is going to have that business intelligence written right into it or integrated with it, in order so it becomes easy for the physician to report that information, similar to what they do now with their physician quality reporting, the so-called PQRI billing capability. On next. Specifically, now let's talk about grant funding and what it is that we do. We start off with identifying what your needs are, and then come to an agreement around that. And so whether you're pursuing a USDA grant, HRSA, AHRQ, ONC, or even the substance abuse and mental health agency called SAMHSA. We identify and discover what opportunities there are out there available to you. We assess and review that, and then aggregate all the information necessary to begin a application process. During that application process, we develop the evaluation plan based on what your needs are and the requirements of a grant. And all of these grants are very, very specific, and you must dot the I's and cross the T's exactly where the agency asks you to do it. In addition to reviewing the offering from the agency in detail, we also talk with the agency to know exactly if there are any nuances within the grant offering that need to be addressed, that may be specific to your particular needs and whatnot. We want to make sure that all that's taken care of. We then develop the evaluation plan. If you go to our website, there's an example of the evaluation plan, and actually we won an award from AHRQ 6 years ago with the development of our specific evaluation plan. We look at your workflows and work plans and processes, and then work together with you to develop technology that is going to merge, hopefully seamlessly and easily, with your workflow, and at the same time being able to fulfill the needs of the grant. We then once the grant is submitted and the process just quickly requires the important information, registration with the Central Contractor Registry, otherwise known as CCR. As a prerequisite to that, you have to have the DUNS number, the D&B contractor number. And then once you register with CCR, and we do all of this for you, of course, once you register with CCR, you then have to register with grants.gov. All grant applications are submitted through grants.gov in what is known as a Form 424. And again, we fill all of that out for you, submit it, and make sure that it's submitted on time and complete with all of the various details that are complete. Our services don't stop there. Again, we don't just write grants, we win grants. And oftentimes that is the necessary requirement there is to develop political support and other stakeholder support around the grant application. So once the grant is submitted, we then begin working with, coordinating with local governments, congressional governments, and other stakeholders, coordinators, education requirements, et cetera, in order to make sure that that your grant application is going to be approved. And further, as we go forward, we continue to exercise our relationships to make sure that the grant agency has everything that they want. Now, specifically, what grants are available right now? There are three, basic grants that are available right now. Let me talk about the HRSA Office of Rural Health Policy grant. It's a grant to assist, and that's only for rural healthcare. So they could be rural hospitals, critical access hospitals, rural FQHCs, federally qualified health centers. They're all eligible for this grant. The grant is a 3-year grant with an amount of up to $300,000 per year, or a total of $900,000 for your HIT project. And this is designed specifically to assist rural communities to develop their electronic medical records, their EMRs, and specifically develop their meaningful use capabilities to get them ready for 2015, so that hopefully they can be ready before that, so that they can take advantage of some of the Medicare or Medicaid funding. As you know, critical access hospitals have a direct reimbursement capability of up to $1.5 million. Other rural hospitals have similar kinds of money that they qualify for, and that's over and above the individual physician. If you're non-affiliated with the hospital, individual physicians can acquire funding from either Medicare or Medicaid in terms of a reimbursement for their electronic medical records. So that's the HRSA grant. I'll be happy to answer questions about it later. The two major offerings right now, the other two major offerings are with AHRQ. The first one there is an offering, again, designed with helping to deliver meaningful use information, and then ultimately to talk and to segue into the development of an accountable care organization. I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. So that's number one. A lot of it, as I mentioned earlier, is designed to capture and report, hopefully seamlessly and transparently, that meaningful unit information. In order to do that, you need business intelligence and the coordination of business intelligence software with your electronic medical record to be able to report the meaningful use information. That's what that grant is for. The other one is is more focused on consumer portals and patient portals, and the interrelationship between patient portals and electronic medical records, and the free flow of information interoperably between patient portals and electronic medical records is going to be extremely, extremely important in the development of an accountable care organization. What's an accountable care organization? It's authorized under the Health Reform, so-called Health Reform Act last year. It's designed to reward physicians, even though they maintain their fee-for-service program. It's a reward if they can create savings in their practices, both in terms of efficiency and improvement of quality of care. Medicare has said through a Medicare Shared Services Plan, we will share your savings. We will share those savings up to a maximum of 60% with the physicians. Hospitals can belong to an ACO. One of the things you got to have to get started with an ACO is at least 5,000 Medicare recipients, and so particularly in rural areas, you're talking about a large geographic area. You must have implemented an electronic health record. The regulations currently state it has to be at least 50%. Obviously, we think that needs to be 100%. But these rules and regulations are in the process of being promulgated now, and there's a period of time for another 30 days or so to be able to respond to the rules that were promulgated. We expect to see a number of changes in them, but we do think that this is going to become a reality, and that certainly Medicare and Medicaid ultimately, as well as other payers, are going to want to ensure and incent the improvements of efficiency, as well as the delivery of the quality of care. You've got to, with an ACO, you've got to be able to have the exchange of information and the ability to develop quality warehouses, as it's indicated there, to coordinate care and measure population health. The bottom line is to improve quality and lower growth in expenditures. The four major components of an accountable care organization is to promote evidence-based medicine, promote patient-centered engagement, and that's best accomplished through a personal health record or a patient portal. As I said earlier, we believe that ultimately is going to need to be seamlessly interfaced with the electronic medical record, and we can answer questions about that. As a result of which, you need to be able to acquire and report internally on the quality and cost metrics. There's going to be a requirement to be able to report that back to CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and at the same time also be able to enhance the coordination of care, specifically the integration of the technology with your care providers. This is an example, just quickly, of some of the grants that we have won, some of the case studies that we've been involved with in Vermont. Two different grants that we had with AHRQ there in Vermont, and you'll see the size of the grants, that all the way from 200,000 up to 1.6 million, and pretty well dispersed activities around the country. All of these extremely successful projects. In conclusion, it is best to, as we talked about before, developing a strategic plan. If you have not actually developed your electronic medical record or electronic health record, developing and defining the process that you want to pursue, the vendors, choosing the right vendor that works for you, and focusing on moving forward with the ability to capture and report not only information to the grant agency that is looking to provide you money, but ultimately that evaluation process will lead to the ability to capture and report and measure meaningful use information. How do you get started? Well, you get started by communicating with Bill and Dawn at DataSource Mobility, and we can get you going by having a conference call and talking about your needs and what it is that you expect to accomplish, and to see how we might be able to help you. The grant process, generally we like to have at least 60 days from the time that we sign a contract, because it does take you time to be able to develop the information that we're going to need to be submitted in the application, and then it takes time for us to go through the registration processes, to actually write the grant. And as we say, we don't just write grants. We win grants. So we need at least 60 days, hopefully even 90 days, to be able to write that grant for you. Once the grant is submitted to the agency, it takes about an average of 4 months to get a response back. Now, with the agencies like AHRQ or with the NIH, National Institutes of Health, that can be a little bit longer than that, and we've seen that process in terms of the grant award information coming out more than 4 months. But by and large, it's the programs are designed around a 4-month peer review process, and so Bill, that pretty well concludes my prepared remarks. And
well, thank you. Let's go back just one slide, Don, to we're on the conclusion, right? So on the defining the electronic medical record and how that ties into the larger electronic health record, I think this is an area where we've seen your expertise come in quite handily for our customers. Or oftentimes they have a project in mind, and they're going to look to you and to us to help them get that funded, and then hopefully look to us to help them get that implemented. But at the beginning stages, we've seen you be able to help to say, okay, well, I see what you're trying to get at with this, with this aspect and this aspect of your EMR strategy. But if you incorporate this, item into it, it's going to make it more desirable for some of these grant writing agencies, and you're probably going to get, be much more likely to get the funding that you're looking for. I think it's important to know.
That's exactly right, Bill. Yeah, that's very important. The grant agencies no longer, but used to be able to just say that you were going to pursue an electronic medical record or electronic health record and not give a lot of specifics in the grant application. Now you have to. They want to know who it is that you're thinking about here, because there are successful companies out there, and there are not so successful companies out there, they want to make sure that we have a successful project here. They don't want you spending their money to unfortunately make mistakes with a company that doesn't have all the bugs squeezed out of their system. So so we assist, as you say, Bill, and we assist with folks with focusing on those companies that we know are successful and that we know the grant agencies will support.
Right. And so I'm seeing a couple of questions that have popped up on the cost of this. So I want to speak to that. We've seen it range a fair amount how much the charge winds up being for doing this. But typically speaking, for a large grant opportunity, we've seen it be somewhere in the range between $40,000 and $55,000 for a guarantee that you're going to get $1 million or more grant. Sometimes there's times when people will want smaller amount of work done, maybe just some evaluation or review of something they've already prepared, et cetera, and that can be a much smaller amount. But typically speaking, we're, again, that range, and let's just say it averages out at $50,000. You think about that you're talking about a guarantee of $1 million in federal or state or different types of grant monies available to these healthcare organizations. It's just, to me, almost a no-brainer that the level of expertise that you guys have brought in, and this speaks back to what we were saying earlier about our 4 Ps, the 4 principles of partnership. You know, the quality of the service and the quality of the product, and the total cost of ownership and ROI that's associated with it, and of course the environmental impact. But your all's total cost of ownership for the service that you offer is just ridiculously small. So, you know, you're probably the easiest thing that we sell, Earl. So we appreciate that very much.
And we do too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
I appreciate that.
Don, let's get to the next slide, and we'll see if there's any. I think most of the questions I saw were related to that. We'll see if there's any others. We offer what we call our EMR NOW, Electronic Medical Record NOW, where we're trying to help these healthcare organizations that are trying to move forward on their projects, but if they've, you know, for various reasons they're stalled. Obviously, grant funding is a big piece of this, and that can be early on in the process or later on in the process. We've engaged with Rural Health IT at both stages successfully with healthcare organizations in the past, and we're happy to do that again. Also with proof of concept trials and demo type programs where we can help people to try before they buy, so to speak, and make sure that it's going to work properly. We have really an unlimited array of consulting services through services that we offer in-house or that we contract out with our successful partners. You know, whether that be 802.11 types of deployments or financial services, or you name it. If you need something, please ask us. We'll figure out a way to make it work for you. End-of-life IT asset programs can fund hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes I've seen it be close to $1 million in assets recovered, whether they be old LCDs or old computer monitors, laptops, cell phones, you name it. Oftentimes there's a whole slew of products that are laying around that we've got some ways that we can take these products in-house. We can get these sold on the secondary markets. Often they'll wind up going to Peru or Brazil or you name it. And then we'll use the funds that are retrieved from that to specifically go into hardware and soft costs associated with EMR projects. So a number of financing and financial services that we can offer as well. So please look to us. You can go to datasourcemobility.com, and if you want, /EMR NOW to see how we can help get things kick-started for you. Dawn, is there anything from a question perspective that you see? I know you got the list there. What else do we need to cover today? I think you might be on mute still, Dawn.
I was, thank you. Just wanted to remind everybody that we will have a recorded version of the webinar available on our website. And so for people that weren't able to maybe log on today, you can kind of pass along a link to them as well. And that's all I have on my end, Bill.
And that's on the next slide, Dawn, page number 23 there, that website and our phone number. Earl, as always, tremendous job. Thank you very much. And we enjoy working with you guys. Good quality, ethical people to work with, and can't say good enough things about you all. So thank you very much for being on our call today.
Likewise. Yep. Thank you very much, Bill and Don.
Thank you, everyone.
For all of our attendees, thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye now.